You're listening to the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast, episode number 35. Questions that your teen can ask about their study in order to create more success for themselves in future, including the one overarching one-word question. We'll talk about why most students don't take the time to ask this question of themselves and the misguided reason behind it. And we'll cover what the huge array of benefits are of actually doing this. I'm Katie Jones, and with over 15 years in education as an award-winning high school teacher, international external examiner, and as a study coach, I've helped thousands of students skyrocket their results and confidence. And this podcast is where I share all my insights, tactics, and tips with you, the parent, so you can help your hardworking teen get happy, smart, and successful in their study, and have you both enjoy the journey along the way. This is the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast. Hey VIPs, welcome to the podcast. I am really excited to talk to you about this topic this week. And I know that I say that almost every week, but it's always true. You know, some people ask me how I keep coming up with things to talk about on the podcast, but the truth is I never have that problem. I have hundreds of ideas all of the time. I actually have a notes screen, like a notes app on my phone for all these things that I think of when I'm out and about. And I have a spreadsheet also on my laptop that's full of ideas that I think of while I'm working on other things. So the problem I have is deciding what to choose and when's the best time to share all of it with you. And this week, I want to talk to you about your teen knowing why they got a certain result. That's the one word question that I want every student to be able to answer. Why? Whether that's in an exam, an assignment, an essay, it could just be for a piece of homework that gets marked, but really I'm talking about those more significant pieces of assessment. And when I say why, I am not talking about having some big why for life in motivating them in their study, although of course that can be important. But what I'm talking about today is knowing why specifically they got a particular mark or grade or result on an assessment. And I really am talking about the nitty-gritty details here. You know I love the details. So it might be something like, why did they get that C+ on their essay? Why did they get 5 out of 5 for that question in the exam? And this isn't about answers like, because they just didn't spend enough time on that essay, or they had to rush it because they had extra music rehearsals that week, or they got the 5 out of 5 because they did loads of revision and they just knew the topic really well. I'm talking about specifically knowing what precise words in their writing on the page had them hit or miss certain criteria in the marking descriptors, and having them do this whether they've gotten a great result, a disappointing result, whatever disappointing might be for them, or an okay result. Because I remember talking to a student and his dad, it was quite a while ago now. Honestly, it was actually probably a couple of years ago. I think it was when he'd just joined the 10-week grade transformation, and I was talking with him and his dad on the phone. They were on speakerphone together. They were telling me all of the things that they really wanted him to get out of the 10WGT, why his dad had enrolled him. And at some point in the conversation, I think it was the dad that said, I know he has the potential, he has the ability, because he just got an A for his engineering assignment. And after I said, congratulations, that's great, to the student, I asked the student straight away, do you know why you got that A? Do you know specifically what was in your writing or what you did or what you drew out that got you that A? And his answer, after a little pause, was, no, not really. So I told him to submit that exact assignment, to a coaching call, because all students in the 10WGT get to come to 3 live group coaching calls with me or Gemma, our English focus coach Gemma. I promise I'm going to get Gemma on here on the podcast soon to share her wisdom and all of her insights with you. But the coaching calls are there so that students can get that personal and specific feedback for themselves on their own work, get any questions that they personally have answered, so they can really see how all of the concepts and training are applied to their own tasks, to their own work. Because obviously I wanted this student to know exactly why and how he got that A grade in his engineering assignment. And this is what all of the coaching I do really orientates around, the why and the how, so that then he can do it again, so that it not just builds his confidence, but also builds his skills and ability to replicate that. Not that he's ever going to get, of course, the exact same task again, which is why I think there's this temptation for students to just see the mark or acknowledge the grade and then move on, because they're busy and they've likely got other homework or assignments that they're working on. And as much as they get told to take on any feedback that's written by their teachers, they know that they won't ever have to repeat that exact task again or answer the exact same set of exam questions. And then there's also the added temptation that if it's a disappointing mark, they're kind of often encouraged just to put it behind them and move on. Like, okay, don't worry, just focus on doing better next time. Now, I'm not saying that they should dwell on a disappointing result emotionally, but I do want students to really and truly know what went on there, not just brush it under the carpet. So if they're going to have the best chance of not making the same mistakes again, and again, I'm talking about how they respond, how well they meet demands, I'm not talking about the subject-specific content. They need to know where they missed the mark, literally, and where they wrote stuff that was not necessarily wrong, factually wrong, but it maybe just was not needed. And they also need to know exactly what did get the marks, because it's unlikely they scored 0. So what specifically in that paragraph, or even exactly what in that sentence, matched the descriptor or matched a certain standard in the criteria? Because that sort of knowledge and understanding, the skills, the true understanding of mark schemes and success criteria and how to meet them, is what carries forwards into all future tasks, exams, and assignments. And I wanted that engineering student, and I want every student, to be able to know all of this for themselves. And I know it sounds really boring or feels really arduous to most students to do this, going back over something that's already been ticked off the to-do list. I think we would all feel like that when it's ticked and it's done. We do not want to be going back over it. But luckily, I find this dissection, this post-match analysis, super interesting and exciting, because I know it's where so much development and learning comes for students. And so when I can do this with students alongside them and we do it together, then that interest, that excitement rubs off just a little bit. Actually, a lot. Once they see the benefits and they see how much more confidence they have even after just one review. So that's why a significant part of the coaching we do is these sorts of dissections, the coach and the student doing them together. And as a side note, this is why I call my 10WGT program training, and the personal support that students get when we work personally together, coaching, rather than names like teaching or tutoring. The naming is very intentional. I train students so they have the skills, the strategies and techniques and can action them for themselves. I don't just teach them stuff. Just like a personal trainer in the gym or a sports trainer, they explain the concepts and the techniques, but they have their client put them into action. And a coach takes those skills, actions, techniques, and has the player hone them, has the sports person master them, so they can become so good at them that they become automatic or instinctual. A coach does a lot more close analysis. So let's take an example. The Australian Open has just finished up here, and tennis is a pretty good example of this. I really love watching tennis, but I am not a good player at all. In fact, I'm not even a player. But you know that pro players aren't just playing a match, winning or losing it, and then moving on. With their coach, they're going to be doing a post-match analysis together of every match. Why was that a poor shot? How would you do it differently? Why did that other shot work so well? Why did you decide to make that shot in the moment? So they can do it again if it worked well and know what to do differently and how to approach the decision-making process or the execution differently if it didn't. And this is the same with your team study and their completed tasks. The tennis player is never going to have their opposition play the exact same shots and match against them again. But the concepts, the skills, the techniques and strategies that they need to use are the same, and they can keep building on those from that experience. Your teen is never going to have the exact same essay, but the skills of writing a high quality, sophisticated essay are the same no matter the topic. So your teen will see big improvements in their results and improvements in how long it takes them to complete a task and improvements in their levels of confidence by identifying what they did well and working on maximizing that and identifying what can be improved and then building up those weaker areas so that just like the tennis player, they perform better in future. They're more skillful, they're faster, they're more effective. So here are a few questions that you can use with your teen in order to help them do this. First of all, where did I get marks or achieve certain criteria? Specifically and importantly, do they know why they achieved those certain criteria? What specifically met the requirement of the question or achieved the marking descriptor? What meant they got a tick next to it? Could they have still gotten those same marks in an easier or faster way if it was, say, in an exam? One of my favorite skills to have students build is less words in an exam answer for the same marks. And then have your teen consider, where did I lose marks or not meet certain criteria? Why exactly was that happening? Do they know exactly what was missing or what stopped them reaching a higher descriptor? Do they think that they could do it better next time now that they know that? And of course, if not, how can they actually go about figuring that out? They don't just want to answer no, I don't think I could do it better next time and leave it there. And yet that is what is happening so often, but just not consciously. But that's not going to make any difference to their future results and is actually going to leave a little bit of a dent in their confidence. The tennis player doesn't just say, yeah, I'm not great at drop shots, I'll just avoid those in future. They work with their coach to solve for that. Now, figuring some of this out might be a challenge for them to do by themselves. So if they're not in the 10-week Grade Transformation Program or in next level coaching, then perhaps they can do this with their teacher or a tutor or even a study buddy, a friend where they can figure this out together. Or of course, you might want to jump in and help them. But hopefully this episode helps show just how valuable this is, how important it is to do this dissection process, how it's totally worth that time and effort and how it will pay off in future. So like I mentioned, if you want to have me train and coach your teen in this, then definitely get them in on the 10WGT. You can see all of the details of the program at www.rocksolidstudy.com/program. Now, this is my flagship program where they get trained by me in the concepts and skills that they need, and they get to come to 3 group coaching calls and get personal help there. Or if your teen has done the 10WGT and they're already on their way to doing this and you would love for them to master it and hone it, then jump on the waitlist for next level coaching where Gemma and I will work with your teen personally up to twice a week if they want. Now, we are currently full, but if you're on the waitlist, I will keep you informed of future spaces and enrollments. And I also share with people on the waitlist some clips of our coaching, some insider tips. So you can go get on that at www.gradetransformation.com/NL preview. So that's NL for next level preview. Or of course, use those questions I shared to get things going at home. Whatever will mean that they aren't making the same mistakes over and over, often doing that without realizing it, so that they aren't missing out on the same sorts of marks or criteria across different subjects and different tasks. So they know and can repeat the things they're doing well and really optimize for them, so they feel confident and in control of their study and they aren't relying on guesswork or hope. In fact, I'll just add this. I recently did a consult with another 10WGT student and her mum, and they talked about how the student was always second guessing herself, how she'd previously gotten B+, but had also had Ds. And she ideally wanted to get some A's in future and of course say goodbye to those Ds, but importantly, most importantly, they wanted her to do it with confidence, to be able to confidently tackle any task or exam question and feel assured in her study. And I think this is part of what gives that assurance. Your teen completely understanding exactly why they got a result they got. Not just because of the time or the effort that they put in, because we know that time and effort are not a direct correlation to results, but because they have the knowledge and understanding to align exactly what they wrote to the demands of the task or the question and the requirements of the mark scheme. So get your teen dissecting their completed tasks, doing those post-match analyses, asking why, and getting them into the nitty-gritty details of that why. And I will see you back here next week. Have a brilliant week. I'll see you then. If you're ready to have your teen achieve their best possible results with less stress, then I want to invite you to enroll them in the 10-week Grade Transformation Program, where they're going to learn the key concepts, skills, and strategies to catapult their performance in assessments and exams. It's risk-free. They either achieve bigger and better results with a whole lot more confidence in 10 weeks, or we refund you in full. Just head over to www.rocksolidstudy.com/program, and I'll see you there.